community plan, and I guess it makes sense.
I guess if we move forward, I would like a safety plan to go along with it. I mean, maybe, not that I'm in favor of more signage, because I'm not saying that, but like in certain places it says, look left and right for pedestrians, that type of thing. I don't know exactly what it should be, but it needs to be something, so that the cars are aware and the cyclists are aware too, that,
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of design options that we can consider as far as that's concerned.
I guess we need to know,
Move approval.
we have a motion to approve.
Changing to the MERT
Changing
on
to the MERT.
41.
Just a question, do we need to get some participation from the bicycle-friendly community folks on this? As Bob Armstrong pointed out some issues. Do we need some additional input from them before we just jump ahead with this, or are we comfortable?
well, the recommendation to look at this is coming from our bicycle and pedestrian coordinator,
Okay.
right there.
Second?
So we have a motion, a second, to move approval to convert to a MERT on the west side of 41. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
4-1.
Okay,
So we'll be hearing back from you sometime.
with some
Yes.
design, yes.
Plus, once it's done, you see it, it's finished, people know something's going on.
Okay,
Do you want to give Phil his, should I set some kind of timer? Okay.
Do we have a?
You want a break?
for a minute?
Okay, we're gonna take, it is now, hold on, 11:03. See, we don't have the time up there. 11:03, we'll come back at 11:10. Meeting back to order. And we have, under unfinished business, employee career progression discussion and proposals.
Good morning, Council. For the record, Phil Wickstrom, Human Resources Manager. I am under very strict instructions to keep this short, so I will do so. We're going to, let's see, we're going to skip the first couple of slides because that's just background. That was just some historical information for you, and kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we talked about and some things that we would like permission to move forward with. The first is a formal employee recognition program. We initially talked in our discussions about having it as a quarterly. After discussing it in staff, we settled on a semi-annual award. We do want, because we have a new insurance company, we want to give considerable weight and care to safety, customer service, ideas for city operations, interdepartmental cooperation. Those will be all items that will be considered. The method will be submission from department heads, supervisors, could be coworkers. The consideration will be through a committee that will be made up of 5 employees. I'll be there just as a facilitator, or we'll assign somebody as a facilitator. But the bottom line is that it kind of springboards off of what PD is doing right now. They have an employee of the quarter, an employee of the year type of thing. So we're just trying to springboard off that. What we're looking at is just a small gift card and a plaque. You all will be able to present that and meet the 2 winners. This is a process that we could begin immediately if you so authorize. Then we started looking at career opportunities. This was a long time gestating. The city manager had some interesting conversations with employees. So we started looking at what opportunities can employee pursue in the city. Right now, within the current structure that we have, the treatment plants are kind of an easy process. It's a 4-step process. You come in as a trainee, no experience. You could come in as an 18-year-old with no experience, and we will take you through the process, and after about 4 years, you could be an operator A, which is a nice, tidy living. I've told my son several times, if you ever need to make a living, go become an operator, because we're always going to need to make water, okay? So that one is one that's in place, and right now there are no limits on the number of operator As that we authorize. We would love for all of our operators to be operator As and dual certified, but it's a very hard process to do. We also, within the building division, have, just this year, we've implemented 2 separate levels of building inspector. We have a single license. Again, someone with a construction background can be brought in under provisional with the building official's approval. That person would essentially conduct inspections under his license, and then he could work his way up to becoming a single license inspector. And then we have 2 multi-license inspectors right now. One area that we are concerned about is that the one inspector who can do electrical plans review and inspection, and those inspections is going to be leaving in 2 or 3 years. At least that's what he's telling us. Again, as our city manager says, they aren't gone until they're gone. But we don't have any limit on the multi-license head count. So if you have multi-license, you can get paid as a multi-license inspector. There are some other areas in which we have some career capability, career ability to progress. In our dispatchers, we have 3 certified training officers or communications training officers. There's 3 of them allocated. They are not competitive positions. They're based on a stipend that works out to an hourly rate of pay. Firefighter paramedics, with the recent contract, we took off the limits on the number of charge medics that we could have. Thank you. By the way, that's working out really well for us. And then on our firefighter and police, we have some FTOs, field training officers. And those are positions that are opportunities as well. They're within the current structure. Our goal is to, and one of the things that came up, we have some employees that have literally been here 25 years and they are still at the entry level, bottom of the pay range, period. And not because they can't do higher level work. They're certified, they're able, we assign it, but they're only paid at the bottom of the range. We want to find a way to blend longevity, that type of longevity, with training and certifications and those kind of things. When we talked about this last time, and I believe this was back before the budget was adopted sometime in June, I think, the city council direction was that anything that we do has got to bring genuine value to the process. So this is what we looked at and we talked about in our meetings. One of the things that we would like to ask is that we eliminate the practice of limiting advancement based on an arbitrary number of positions that's built into the budget. Okay, so right now, if you have a field operations division, they're allowed to have so many 1s, so many 2s, and so many 3s. We would like to take the limits off and say, if you have all the certifications and training and experience to be a 3, you can be a 3, regardless of whether or not the position is allocated. So essentially, it would be a budget change process where we would just say, all the positions can be a 3s. Right now, this is where we are, and these are some that we believe could move up. Again, it would be based on licenses, certifications, technical training, some things that we are building into it. But we want employees to maximize. We don't want a 25-year employee to be an operator 1. Okay, that's, in my mind, wrong on a whole lot of levels. It also means that we have not maximized what that employee can do. And also, it's going to encourage employees to stay. Starting to see a bit of an uptick in turnover. The overall plan will include a large emphasis on safety. PGIT, our new insurance company, has got a $5,000 a year reimbursement program every year that we can use to reimburse, and one of the things that we'll look at using some of that money for is later on. But basically, a safety program is going to be a significant component. You will have to have completed certain training modules. We also want to look at what's actually doable. We don't want to come to you with a plan that's so expensive it's silly, all right? And so we want to look at value and affordability. It'll be a collaborative effort that's going to be not just department heads, but supervisors and employees will get together to discuss this in developing the job descriptions, policies. How are we going to do this to make sure we ensure that there's actual value there? In the action plan, Public Works and Utilities Field Operations, we're going to be looking at those elements. I won't go through them line by line, but they will all share certain things. A CDL is really important because we drive a lot of dump trucks, we drive a lot of garbage trucks, we drive a lot of equipment that requires a CDL. That is a federal program, and they're subject to random testing. Again, the safety training modules. Maintenance of traffic, just about every division has to be able to cone off an area and create a safe working environment for the employees. And then there'll be duty-specific and technical and equipment operation requirements. And again, that's going to go back to just training and certification. In procurement, one of the things we would like to look at, and maybe not this year, but in procurement, to become what's the title, Dave, a certified procurement manager? Yeah. They have certifications that require years of experience and in fact, one of the certifications, you have to have a 4-year degree, okay? But basically, we're looking at that would be an area that we would like to look at. Right now, we have the assistant buyer, which is a pay grade. That person, I like to use the term coordinator. She has lots of responsibility and no authority. But she's a pay grade 5, and then you can work your way up to a purchasing agent 1, 2, or a senior purchasing agent. We would like to look at moving forward with that. Maybe not this budget year, but planning for it in the next budget year. Our code compliance officers, they have several levels that they can proceed to. This one would be one where you would get a stipend for each level, a certification that you achieve, level 4, and then there is a 5th level, isn't there, Lisa? But what we're looking at right now is the levels 1 through 4. And then the code enforcement professional will be level 5, so that would be another premium. And each certification would have a premium value. Again, that's going to be worked out with city manager, with finance, and with the department heads.
Currently, what is the structure? They're just,
You got a code compliance officer.
okay.
In fact, we have a couple that are actually all the way through 4, but they don't get anything for it. They just, thanks, you did good. Then we're also looking at some certification-based hourly premium pay. One of the things that I want to put an emphasis on, this will be primarily looking at pay grades 12 and below. Bargaining unit employees would not be eligible for this. Again, this is something that, they have their own mechanisms and their own processes. We don't want it to be something that you came to the table with it because that's what you got to have to get the job anyway. That's not at all what this is about. This is about developing and building capability within the organization, rewarding the training and the years of service and certifications, and also enabling cross-training. Some examples, case in point, just about every department or division has a notary public. That is a position that carries with it research and things that they have to do. We do not pay anything extra for that. Advanced computer coursework, GIS mapping, paralegal services, city clerk certification. We have one employee in the city clerk's office that has a city clerk certification, gets no benefit out of that other than the fact that she can do the job when the city clerk is not here. A key component of all this is a safety training officer. We're looking at one for Public Works and Utilities. We may look at a third one that would cover administrative and other positions. This would be, there would have to be some years of experience. They will have to have completed all the safety training modules. They will have to be certified as MOT Advanced unless it's the administrative side of things, then that'll be a little different. They have to have computer skills because they're going to be responsible for monitoring online training. And they will be responsible for also administering and training people who don't have any computer skills, which we have quite a few employees that have never used a keyboard. So,
Really?
yes,
No
Yeah.
texting.
never had a need. We have one person that's 2 classes shy of a master's degree that had never used a keyboard before we did some training a couple months ago.
Jeez,
So,
that's
So this safety training officer is kind of is a real key position. This will be a competitive position that will be selected, and it'll be an hourly, per hour stipend. Safety, the timing of this, we would like to do the safety training officer beginning December 1. We're just questioning whether I can get that done between now and then. I think we can. If you authorize it, we'll put the word out. We'll get those that are interested, we'll interview them, go through that process. Field operations, we're looking at March 1 for public works, utilities, and code compliance we're including as a field operation. Believe me, they spend a lot of time out in the field, and they're gonna have to do some of the safety training modules and things like that. For procurement, we're looking at October 1 of 2016. And then for other certifications, the ones that I listed, the notaries and those kind of things, we're going to evaluate during fiscal year 2017. But that's the timing that we're looking at. As far as cost is concerned, for general fund positions this year, if you authorize it, the potential on the high end is about $21,000. For general fund, for enterprise funds, it'd be about $29,000, because there's quite a few more positions there that, you've got 2 enterprise funds that are overseen by Public Works, Canal and Sanitation. So, was that fast enough?
That was great.
So,
I'm gonna start, if you don't mind. How hard is it for the city to qualify for that rebate that you talked about? Is it just a matter of going through the training and the do this, do that, do this, do that, then you get it?
Well,
Or
an idea, it can be used for lots of things. We could buy a set of, or half of a set of bunker gear for that, or some bunker gear for that. What I suggested to the city manager is since we're going to be looking at some safety training officers, and the stipend on that is gonna be a little over $1,000 a year, use that money to pay for the safety training stipend, okay, so that there'd be no net increase to the city.
But how hard is it for us to qualify?
Not at all.
Okay.
It
And
has to, yes, pardon me,
check all the boxes.
exactly.
What about the training modules? Do those cost us?
When we went with Preferred Government Insurance Trust, one of the things that we got out of it was it's called Target Solutions. Our fire department already uses it, but a higher level module than what we would be using. But essentially, there is a library that's this long that we can assign to employees, and we won't assign to an administrative person the same modules that we would assign to somebody out in the field. But each one of those modules carries with it, you have to go online, you have to view the videos, you can't just short circuit it and take the test. You have to do the videos. For those that can't do online type stuff, the safety training officer would provide it in a group environment, or I would probably do it, but they would schedule it and set it up.
Okay, Tom?
I'm hearing that we're going to motivate, educate, and maintain our employees into the future for $50,000?
Well, this is for this year.
Okay.
Okay, this is for this year. Going forward, and the big expansion there is going from a 1 to a 2 to a 3, all right? And that's part of that's where a lot of the money is with our utilities people and our public works people, because that's where the numbers are, okay? There's a piece of it that's, if we approve the administrative certifications going forward that are not tied to code compliance, then there'll be some costs. But this is what I anticipate costing this year. And then as we build the budgets going into the future, we would have to take that into account.
This is our best estimate as to who may qualify,
Yes.
who may get these certifications. That may be high.
It could be, yes.
Kim?
I love this program. I think it's awesome, and our employees are our greatest asset. It's fantastic. One suggestion I would have, one of the first slides you had different things that you were looking for, is to add cost savings. If they could, for the awards, if they could identify cost
Okay.
savings.
We did talk about that. I just didn't put it in my, yes, that came up from several quarters when we were having the discussions.
So you alluded to, but didn't directly address, that typically in these types of plans that I've had experiences with former customers and clients, is that as you increase competencies and educations of your, and cross-training in particular, and safety issues of your employees and the people that you're working with, there do tend to be quantifiable cost savings in overall operations. For example, somebody leaves to go on to another place, you've already got somebody cross-trained to fill that gap while you go to replace that person. Or you have more competent people in the water department, and when Murphy's Law does rear its ugly head, the resolution becomes more of a easy, normal operation rather than a crisis situation, or to avoid crisis situations. So even though there are on one level costs associated with this, I think we should also keep in mind that there probably will be quantifiable, if we look hard enough, operational savings that we'll be able to maintain in a program like this.
Nancy?
Great.
Yeah, I think anything we can do that would reward the employees is great. And some of the things that we can do aren't necessarily tied to dollars, but so I see that that's in here. I would add the word, I think you were suggesting another word to add in cost savings. Innovation is another word that's important. The other thought that I had is a question, actually. How will we address the fact that if we are allowing people to rise in their level, so now all of a sudden everybody's a level 3, but job description-wise, a level 1 does this, a level 2 does this, a level 3 does this, and how do we avoid the situation where someone, well, we're all level 3, we don't want to do what a level 1 does. So how do we flatten the organization so we all do it?
Or do you want to address that, or you want me to take a stab at it? I used to work for a guy that was brilliant, okay? I still work for a guy that's brilliant. I got to suck up
Good catch.
this guy, this guy.
Yeah, I might as well go now.
This was in the marine business. This guy actually developed, you know, you're familiar with the unsinkable boats. Anyway, he developed that process. And when somebody would ask that question, his response was, that sounds like a management problem. You're a manager, aren't you? And that really is a management problem. That's something that we're going to have to make sure that we address in training, and we are doing some of that with FGCU, with Charlie Brox. But yes, we need to make sure that our threes are still, they build on each other. They never really stop doing one work, okay? It just enables them to do 3 work.
Great.
I think this makes a lot of sense because with our bargaining units, we've gone through this a lot, you know, and it's almost like our general employees, because they're not in that process, you know, this is maybe a little late coming, but I think now is the time to really address it. And I like what you've come up with. I think you get it, that we want value for the, you know, bang for the buck. We want it to mean something. We want it to add, you know, even the benefits that we may not see. You might not be able to quantify that they're there. You can feel it in the organization, that type of thing. So I think this is a really good program, and I think we should move on to the next steps of it as well. Keep implementing, you know, looking at the pieces and taking as much or as little of it that we like. So I'm in favor of it. And, you know, just little things too that have come up. Like I was in Leadership Charlotte 2012, and the police department usually offers somebody up for Leadership Charlotte, but the general employees, I don't think we've really ever allowed that to happen. And it's interesting because why not? You know, why shouldn't they have that type of opportunity too? So that's something else I would like the city to look at, that, you know, maybe the committee could get together and ask who would be interested in joining Leadership Charlotte and vet it out and give somebody that opportunity as well, because it's important, and, you know, I would love to see the city represented.
That's a great idea.
Well, quite frankly, nobody's ever said we could. I've always assumed, I know very little about Leadership Charlotte. I've always assumed it was invite only.
No, you apply.
Okay.
You apply.
We'll do
Yes.
That raises an interesting point, because when the past police chief, who is now over in Coconut Creek, when he asked, we've sent a lot of police to the leadership, Charlotte, and some more have requested to apply, I said, no. We want to reserve another spot for somebody other than police. And it didn't occur this time, but we need to get that word out.
Good,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Fire as well.
Yes.
So move approval?
Yeah,
We need direction.
Oh,
So, yes.
we love the program. I love the program. Move approval.
I love it too.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to implement the program. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Great
Thank you, Howard.
presentation.
Okay. Well, actually, it was the employee groups working with our human resources folks to put this together. We gave them the leeway to come up with a plan, and they did an excellent job.
And it
Good
sounds
job.
like we're getting more bang for our insurance buck too with now this program that
Yes, we are.
Right.
is included with,
Yeah.
so that's good news. Pays to shop around sometimes. Okay,
times.
new business, I don't see any. Recommendation from city officer, city manager.
One reminder, and that is the next council meeting. One of the most significant items will be, again, a review of all of the status of the capital projects, one that we've carried over from the previous fiscal year and the ones that are ongoing for this fiscal year. We're putting that together, so that will be one of the major items for November 18th. You should have received, hopefully you had a chance to look at it, a draft letter from the interim Charlotte County Economic Development Director regarding a support letter for Western Michigan's application to the Florida Department of Education for a provisional license to have a physical presence in the state. There are some grammatical things
saw that,
that
yeah.
we need to correct in the letter, but our recommendation is that City Council approve the letter. We will redraft it with the grammaticals for the mayor's signature on behalf of City Council. We would like to send that back to the Economic Development Office this week.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the letter to the Florida Department of Education for Western Michigan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
That's all I got.
Okay. City attorney.
Couple of things. While the Tetra Tech guys were here, I met with them and Marion to see if we could come up with some language to resolve the well drillers' issues regarding potential change orders. And Marion expressed to you that we were trying to prevent there being any additional change orders. I came up with some language that should, for the most part, indeed prevent any additional change orders on this particular issue. But in all fairness, there may be some matter that in all exercise of professional due diligence still would not discover some highly unusual, unique circumstance that other drillers would not have anticipated either. And so there might be a remote possibility, if those parameters are met, that it may be necessary for you to consider an additional change order. But in the ordinary course of events, the answer would be no more. And I'm hoping that that language would also satisfy the drillers concerned. So we'll see how that works. But I just wanted to let you know, notwithstanding the fact that there was an aspiration not to have any more change order on that particular issue, that may be an unreasonable aspiration. Also, not that I wasn't paying full attention to Phil's presentation. While I was sitting here, I came up with an idea that might be a means to settle the mining case. And given the fact that the 18th is the day before the hearing. If I am able to flesh out the concept to the extent that it may be acceptable to the opposition, I want to at least put you on notice that it may very optimistically be possible to require a special meeting of the city council beforehand.
Well, we have a meeting on the 18th.
Yeah, I know, but that, I would, if I can come up with, if I can sell this proposal, I think in all fairness to all of the litigants, including like some of the people that are witnesses coming in from out of town, maybe we can resolve it before the day before the hearing. And
I think that's great. We have to keep in mind that you need to make sure that we can have a special meeting. We can call one anytime. It's- We need to make sure that whatever you come up with, if it's acceptable, we got to give time for the Charlotte County Commissioners
No,
to.
no, I understand that. I just wanted, since this, we're all together here, I don't know how this proposal will be received. I think it may be a decent proposal. I just want to let you know that I might be asking Howard to call you in sometime next week, early on, so that the city council, so that we have something that you've approved that we can then submit to the city, to the county, give them an opportunity to maybe have a meeting, well in advance, well, as much in advance as possible of the 19th.
Can you do it before the 11th?
I'm going to, as soon as this meeting is concluded, talk to Todd Kincaid and see if what I'm suggesting is workable.
Okay.
And then prepare it in some sort of formal language that have the county staff take a look at and then see where we go.
Okay.
Okay, that's great.
That would be wonderful.
I mean, that's assuming that the county commission has any desire to try to negotiate a settlement.
Right.
I
And,
think they do.
and
I
Tricia
mean,
Duffy has been reaching out to us, so she may be a contact person, somebody, because she was on the Anorak committee and she goes way back with them, their mining. Maybe, you know, we could show it to her as well and use that as an avenue.
Again, I don't want to say too much because it may be that I'll get shot down from our expert saying it's not going to be possible, but I'm optimistic.
Okay,
Okay,
Good?
all right, good.
thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. City clerk.
Yes, in your packet, you were provided with the proposed assignments for the service boards and committees. This item is for council discussion and action.
Okay.
These are just proposed, these are
I mean, how do
not written
we,
in stone.
I'm Kim?
I'm happy with the ones I have.
I'm happy with the ones I have. Tom?
I'm happy with the ones I have as well, and having been the alternate to the MPO, I've been to the last several meetings, and I'm prepared to continue on as the alternate if council desires.
As the
Would you be the
alternate?
full-time person?
That'd be the full-time person,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I think that makes the most sense because of the continuity, and that's a really important board. You know, we've been very successful there, and I think, you know, you've been attending the meetings and you have most of the historical knowledge, so that makes a lot of sense.
Happy to do it.
Nancy?
I'm glad to take on the Economic Development Group. It fits with OCOM, and that's one of the things I wanted to suggest is that I think it's time that we add the One Community, One Message committee to this list. It does not operate in the sunshine, but then neither does the Economic Development Group.
Right,
So if you all would agree with that.
I agree with
The
that.
other one is the Pontotoc Voters Alliance. I'm happy to take that on as the contact person for them. And I wanted to offer up with Tom, if he wanted to, you know, alleviate himself with one committee, I'd be glad to take the airport, since I interact with noise issues. But that's up to Tom.
That's fine with me. You're the one who seems to be on the front line when it comes to low-flying objects, so be my guest, that's fine.
Okay.
Sure, there's a meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, there is? Okay, I guess I need to be at a meeting tomorrow morning.
Okay, so Nancy's gonna take on the Airport Authority, And we've never really assigned an alternate, just if you can't go, Karen will reach out and,
Okay.
Can you be the alternate?
or do we have an alternate?
Do we?
No, we never
No,
have an
no, I don't believe we
alternate.
do, but
No,
do we have an
it's a
alternate for the MPO?
Nancy, you're down as the alternate for the MPO, but
I'm okay with that.
are you okay with
Okay.
that?
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm working on the Madrid issue, and I'm good with that.
That's fine,
Okay.
that's fine. We can-
So we
But it
can
says
do
the third,
alternate for the-
it says Charlotte County Airport Authority, second Thursday at 9 AM. Tomorrow is the first Thursday.
There have been some changes. We've been in touch with some of the boards, and we're finding that some of the dates have changed since this was printed, so we'll make sure those are on your calendars with the correct dates. Is that a conflict with something else, Nancy?
I'll check my calendar. I don't think so, but I'll check.
Okay.
If it
See.
is, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, and I was suggesting with Gary, because a lot of the, Shinep, with Gary's background in water, that it really fits his background. And I know that the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, one of the committees that they're forming is a water committee. There's a lot of focus there with the Caloosahatchee and things like that. Yes, that organization is in transition and change, and I thought, you know, maybe it would really be good, since Rachel, you served on that committee, and I have now served, to get a third council member's perspective on that organization as a whole, so that when time comes to discuss it here, we've got 3 people who've had some experience.
I'm fine with that, and actually, I'm glad the 2 of you have said, because there may be 1 or 2 conflicts a year that I have on that Thursday morning.
That's good, you
Yeah.
can
So,
go.
with that said, this would certainly be an area that I could, think that I could wrap around and be pretty
Mhm.
excited about.
Okay,
And the drug-free.
Who's the Voters Alliance?
Nancy.
We have, yes.
so let's just go
Just
down.
so down.
If I could, I had been assigned the Voters Alliance. Carolyn decided not to continue on with it, and so I have been acting as the liaison between council and Voters Alliance. But if
Do
Nancy.
you want to stay on with that?
I would enjoy staying on with that if you.
I mean, I'm happy to take it on, it's just as a contact, but that's okay.
Yeah, I would stay with it if you're okay with that, and,
Okay.
Tom?
yeah.
Tom, okay.
Yeah.
So,
They talk to you all the time.
yeah, so Tom's gonna stay contact person with, it's a contact with Arts and Humanities, not a liaison,
Correct.
Right.
There hasn't been a lot of contact, I think.
right?
Right.
And then Nancy's gonna take the Charlotte County Airport Authority, and we're gonna say Tom is the alternate. And then if Tom can't make it, somebody will go.
I'm sorry.
Tom's gonna be the alternate for Airport Authority.
So we're gonna have an alternate for the airport now. And Nancy's gonna be the lead on the airport, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm gonna keep check. And Nancy's gonna be on the Economic Working Group, Development Group. And MPO, Tom will be the main seat holder, and Nancy will be the alternate. And Gary Wine will be our representative to Chinep. And Tom is gonna continue as the Voters Alliance. Kim's gonna continue on the Housing Authority. I'm gonna be the main person for the Southwest Florida League of Cities with Kim as the alternate. And Gary's gonna take the Regional Planning Council. And then Kim and I will stay on Tourist Development, and Kim will be our rep to Drug Free Punta Gorda, and then we'll add OCOM on there as Nancy is our representative. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Very good, thank you very much. Okay, then,
boards. Boards and committees.
okay, we have a continuing vacancy as an alternate on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. We also have an unexpired term on the Firefighters Pension Board.
Mayor, we have advertised the pension board vacancies from time to time through the Punta Gorda Chamber of Commerce and any other means that we can use to get it out there. It's just such an important position. I think we need to do whatever we can to advertise that position. And John Bean is certainly going to be missed on that board. They have done a really good job, as we heard at the last meeting. So if we could find different ways to get that word out there.
I have actually been issuing press releases now. We do put it in the weekly every week, and we can find other ways.
Is
Maybe
this the-
advertising with the chamber would be.
Is this
a
the
good way.
city resident at large spot? What seat is
For
it?
fire, it is, yes.
Okay.
Mhm,
So they have to be a city resident.
Yeah.
correct. Okay, moving on, under nominations, we have 2 3-year terms on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. We have 2 eligible applicants. If you'd like to nominate and
Nominate
appoint.
and appoint.
Do you have a
So that's a
motion? We need
That's a
second.
motion to nominate and appoint.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to nominate and appoint Green and Pryor to the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you. Also under nominations, we have a 3-year term on the Punta Gorda Isles Canal Advisory Committee. We have 7 applicants for nomination.
Nominate all.
If I might,
Yes.
Gary Guncher is, his name is one of the nominees. I believe he's left the area, unless.
Yes, we were going to just eliminate his name from the actual appointment list.
Okay.
But thank you, yes, we were aware.
Do we need a second or just a motion to nominate?
That's just a nomination.
Okay.
No motion necessary. Okay, continuing under nominations, we have a nominee for one of the unexpired terms for an alternate on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board.
All
Finally.
I'd
right.
like to nominate and appoint.
Nominate and appoint.
It's a
Second.
motion.
It's a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a
Frederick Court.
second to nominate and appoint Mr. Court to the alternate on the HPAB. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to appointments. Got my voting forms here. Okay, this is for 2 3-year terms on the Code Enforcement Board, so you're voting for 2.
I have a question before we vote. On Mr. Meyer's application, it was referenced that he's been on the board since 92. Is that a misprint, or is that?
He has served on and off the board since that time. He served an initial term. He left the board for a couple of years. He was allowed to come back and serve another group of terms, and he went off the board again, and he's been on the board again for 1 3-year term. So he's eligible for 2 more 3-year terms.
Don't get a paper cut.
And the appointees are Trudy Baxter and Vic Poitras.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, policy and legislation, Mayor, let me think, do I have any? I guess one thing that kind of stuck in my craw from the last council meeting when we discussed the Walkable Community Symposium, and we all sat up here and we took all the credit for all the wonderful amenities that we have in our city. I had a bad feeling about that later in the afternoon, because really, my first years on council, those council members are the ones that really made the hard decisions, that really took that direction, that really were behind the ring around the city, that really made that whole thing happen. I mean, Harvey and Bill and Larry and Charles, and they were really the pioneers of what you see today. And I just feel like, it's really easy to take credit for it, but they were really committed and dedicated, and maybe you can say something along that line too, because I just felt like that got a little bit lost, that nobody really brought that point of information out. And, you know, their dedication was very fierce.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The reason the community looks the way it does, and we've accomplished all we've done, is that the city council after the hurricane, I know we don't like to talk about the hurricane anymore, and the community were insistent that we get things done. And so, between the council and the community, they provided that core direction for us as staff to get it done. If you don't have the core, if you don't have the city council, the elected officials, and that community in sync, ready to vote, to tell staff, get it done, then you got problems. Well, we didn't have that problem. We had just the opposite. So you're right.
And Don McCormick too, who was in the
Right.
seat before me, and Marilyn. I mean,
Well,
I
and
hate
you
to
go
start
all the way
naming.
back to Steve Fabian.
Yes,
Right.
Steve,
Yeah.
and
Steve.
But I also think to Howard's point, it's not just the council. I mean, it was the community at large was
That's right.
very adamant about the whole process. So it really reinforced to the council, and it made it easier for them to really get behind something. So it was very much a team effort.
And
And-
while we're giving accolades, Team Punta Gorda played a huge was a proponent of the issue back then.
well, I just, you know, when Bruce was saying we're 11 years ahead of most communities, but it was 10 years in the making, you
Right.
know?
Right.
It was a 10-year plan.
Right, and I think what I hear is our community is where it is because of what Howard just said. It's the collective effort behind everything that makes us so unique as a community.
And honestly, if you look at it, you remember the presentation, all of the Harbor Walk and all that vision was done way before.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
even in 2000, before the hurricane. So it, you know, the staff's plan and all that came together for those of you, David, that have been here for so long and had that vision. And I've been through several city managers, and Howard, it was the perfect storm. Everybody together, really, because that vision was there for a long time. And having Howard as the city manager and having Team Punta Gorda and having the council we had and everything just came to life, so.
Do I have any other policy or legislation?
I have nothing written down for you.
Okay.
I have stuff written down for others, but not for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Nancy?
Council member comments. Well, the One Community, One Message Committee is working on the presentation. I talked with Howard yesterday, and we will settle on December 16th as the date that we will present and put that on our agenda. And we're meeting with Howard this afternoon, letting him poke holes and give us some advice. And we'll be testing the waters with a number of people around the community. So we're looking forward to the discussion and helping move our community forward. And one more item I have is that the Founder's Day will be coming up a month from now on December 1st through the 7th. I know, Rachel, you have a couple of projects that you are working on. One of the things that I'm selling tickets for the Founder's Day Southern Supper, I have to try to say that, Southern Supper, on December the 5th, and would love to sell tickets to the city council and to our city manager. They're $50 a piece, and we get a great table together of council or city and friends, if you'd like, so.
Do you think that we should ask Jean or Teresa or whoever to come to our next council meeting and just give a brief overview of what the events are? Do you think they
That would be great.
Do you think they would want, I mean,
I think they would welcome any exposure.
okay.
I think there are a lot of wonderful things going on, and it's an opportunity to shed the light on some activities that over the years just haven't gotten much attention, like the Punta Gorda Historical Society spends a lot of time illuminating the history park, and it's gorgeous. And I went there last year, and nobody was there. So I think this will help, bring an awareness to a lot of things, and this is the first. And they're
Maybe
hoping
we
to-
could get them under presentations Karen, maybe just a 5 to 7 minute presentation for Founder's Day week and contact Jean and,
Michaela's listening, she probably
Okay.
has it on the agenda already.
yeah, I think that would be great because I know they have a calendar, they have a website. We can talk more about the other activities too, because they're still in the mix. They're still in the gelling stage, so next meeting, I think, is when we can really
Right.
start selling everything that we're doing.
And tomorrow night is the ribbon cutting for the Punta Gorda History Center new office on Sullivan. So it's exciting.
What time?
5:30 is the typical time. So people start gathering before then. And, but we had to do this because of the terms of the Vernon Peoples Agreement, so,
Is that it?
yes.
Thank you. Gary.
Oh, and congratulations, Mayor and Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Last week, I had the pleasure and the opportunity to attend the Florida Fracking Summit in Fort Myers. The good news that I attained from that, having had experience in the fracking industry up in the Dakotas and in Ohio and Marcellus, we're not going to have any fracking in Punta Gorda anytime in the relatively near future, but it can happen in the future. We're at the edge of the area that's considered moderate potential for development, but there's a lot more oil field development that would occur prior to them getting to us. That's the good news. But what I did take away from the summit that I'd like to share with all of you, and particularly with David, because I think it's very poignant to something that's going on with us right now relative to the mines, that apparently there is a movement beginning or a motion developing at the state legislature to take control of mining rights away from the counties and municipalities and keep them strictly under the umbrella of the state itself. And this could have, I think, very major implications to us in the future that we would want to do the best we can to protect. And this is an area that I think have presented ourselves, along with Charlotte County, are on the same side of the table in that respect. And this is because of the pressure that's coming from the oil fracking and so forth. But it's about mining rights, mineral rights, who owns them, and so forth. With that said, a number of communities have at this point in time, and Estero did this just last Thursday, or was it Bonita Springs? Don't quote me on that. One of them did. I think it was Estero. We do have the right at this point in time, according to the information given to us, to pass an ordinance among ourselves that just would forbid fracking inside the Punta Gorda limits. We can go on record as saying that right now. That doesn't mean it wouldn't be negated sometime in the future, but we could make that statement right now. And that's just something I think that we should maybe talk about in the relatively near future, just to set a tone, if you would, in these regards. So that's what I wanted to say about fracking. And it's pointed because we're going to have a presentation next week, I believe.
I think it's scheduled for the 18th.
Or, yeah, I meant the next meeting, to, you know, in that. Is this what I can talk about?
Somebody else is.
Okay, good. Okay, that's all I got to say right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, first, congratulations to everybody, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Gary, and Nancy, wonderful. I had an opportunity, Peace River Wildlife, I had an opportunity to talk to Joe Boff of Grand Harbor Development. First, we should know that he has no intention of chasing the Peace River Wildlife people out of the property that they're on right now. He has no intention of developing it in the near future or selling it in the near future. But he also has no intention of turning over the property that the Peace River is currently on to the Wildlife Center. And the reason, as he was explaining that to me, is that the property that he owns, that he would like to potentially develop or sell, whatever, in order to maintain the maximum density that he has with that particular site, it consists of six buildings, 3 stories over parking. That's a lot of bulk on that property that he has. Meeting that criteria leaves him with very little opportunity to put in the amenities that would go along with a complex like that, like a swimming pool, tennis courts, appropriate landscaping, and things of that nature. And while it's a bit of a stretch, and he agrees as well, the property where the Peace River currently is could contain, and stop me if there's a code issue here, David Hilston, could contain the pool, the tennis courts, the amenities that would support that project. So he is reluctant to separate that piece from the main parcel because he couldn't go ahead and do what he needs to do to be able to build, market, and turn a profit without having all of this available to him. The way that we left the conversation, I explained to him that we had decided here, a decision had been made at City Council that if needed to, we would be moving the Peace River Wildlife Center into Ponce Park. And that is gonna, that's gonna come with some trepidation, I'm sure, as we approach that position. And the way that I left it with Joe, with your agreement, is that we would ask staff to go back and take a look at his site and see if there was any way to incorporate his requirements onto that site. And by the way, there was no issue of a variance request, there was no desire for one. So that was not in his mind at all. So we just left it that we would ask staff, if you're all in agreement, to take a look at the project to see if something can be worked out.
Howard?
I've already broached it. We will take a look at it. I don't know if we'll succeed, but we will look at it, knowing what he needs. And we will do it quickly, because the Wildlife Center needs an answer. For them to be able to raise funds, for them to build what they want to build, they need an answer. We cannot sit around for the next 5 years. Is the property owner going to develop? Are they not? This or that. We need to have an answer. So as a staff, we're going to look at that immediately to see if that can be accomplished. We don't know. If we can, we will sit down and show it to them. If we can't, we're going to need to bring this back to you to decide how we want to proceed. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment to that. Wildlife Center does need an answer. They do have a compromised infrastructure because they don't want to do repairs, obviously, that they might have to just tear down, et cetera. They want to undergo fundraising points, and these are all fundraising issues, and they don't want to lose potential large donors because of losing interest in the project before. So we do, as I agree with Howard, and I think we all understand, need to stop kicking the can down the road. We need to start going forward. I would like the council here to consider going down the road of looking for the consultant to begin planning what we can and can't really do with this park. And I think that the individuals involved, the city, the Wildlife Center, the boaters, the people that use that park need to be represented at that table initially so that whoever engineering or consulting firm that if we were to go down that road, would know how, and so we could look at the alternatives and start doing that in parallel, so that when we do get a definitive answer, we can be going forward and we can send a message to the Wildlife Center, and then they should come back to us with 1 or 2 or 3 alternate proposals of what they would like. They should come with us our wish list, and then we should start that negotiation in the development of that property, redevelopment of that property, because it's an incredible piece of property for Punta Gorda, both as the populace is concerned. I think that's been very well stated when we've seen the support in the multitudes of the people, but it's also a tourist and economic asset because it is going to lure people in and down past Fisherman's Village and also to the park itself, which is.
Well, Gary, I agree, but when you say a parallel effort, at this point, I think it would be premature to involve the Peace River people in designing a section of the park to accommodate them when that may not happen. I think we need to deal with the issue of Grand Harbor first and get that behind us before we start to get input from groups
I'm not proposing that we go down, when I say in parallel, preliminarily, we can find out. I think we need to sit down with all parties, not just the Wildlife Center, but all parties that will continue using that park in the future, to find out what we're gonna be able to do with the park in the first place. Okay? And to start that conversation, so that when we do find out if we're able to, if they're able to stay in their present footprint, great. You know, but there still may be other things that, the boaters and so forth, parking issues, there's other issues besides just the Wildlife Center
lot of
that's
issues.
involved in Ponce Park. And I'm just saying is we should start bringing those questions in parallel to the table now. Okay? I'm not saying that we should start developing a hardcore plan in the next 2 months. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to start fielding what all those questions are gonna be, not only for the Wildlife Center, but for the boaters, for the sunset worshipers, and so forth through that whole park. Playground, how it could be better utilized, just to bring these kind of issues to the table so we know what we want to discuss in the future of that property.
I mean,
That's what I'm proposing.
unfortunately, there's no funding to redo the park, correct?
Not necessarily so. In January, February, hopefully, we will be receiving a check from Fisherman's Village.
Right.
If all goes well. We already have the BP oil spill monies. We already have the sale of the recycling center. We have committed to putting on the agenda, January, February, assuming Fisherman's Village can come in, a discussion on those one-time dollars.
Yep.
So potentially, we have a way to get at some of this. To bring a design firm on board, we do have a library, an engineering library. Depending on the costs of what a design firm may be, we may or may not be able to use that design library. If we can't use the design library, we then have to issue what's called a request for proposal. And that process takes a few months anyways.
Well, I think January, February timeframe would be appropriate, because we could figure out the BOF situation, have staff look at it one more time, you know, sit down with him and really get creative, think outside the box, which they're very good at. And then that discussion about, you know, the one-time use funds, if we decide we're looking at that as one of the projects, then that would be the time to really decide how to tackle that project, the park.
There are other projects in the wing that we also may want to consider, some more affordable than others. And so we're going to have a list.
I think that's appropriate, that it be part of that conversation.
Would it be inappropriate to ask the boaters and the Wildlife Center people to enter in